Good Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Alicia Lewis. Breaking overnight, an investigation near West 42nd Street in Scott Terrace in Edina's Morningside neighborhood. Take a look at the scene, a video of the scene. Police say they were called to the area just before 3 o'clock in the morning for people stealing from cars. When they arrived, they say multiple suspects ran. 3 people were arrested, but they haven't said if that was everyone involved or how many cars were involved. New allegations this morning accusing Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Lindell of violating campaign laws. That complaint just into the newsroom 1 week ahead of the primary election. Megan McPherson has the details.
Lindell is pushing back against these allegations that he violated Minnesota campaign law, calling the complaint against him a setup hit job. It centers around a Delano 4th of July parade where Lindell threw pillows to people along the parade route. We also found a video on Lindell's Instagram page, which is what you're seeing now, that shows him handing out similar pillows at a parade in Foley back in June. So here's a closer look at what they look like with Mike Lindell for governor printed on the packaging. The filing claims Lindell and another person threw pillows worth nearly $35 into the crowd, arguing that violates Minnesota's Fair Campaign Practices Act, prohibiting giving something of value to influence a person's vote. But Kare 11 spoke to Lindell about the accusation, and he says his campaign checked the rules before the events and dotted their I's and crossed their T's. And according to him, the pillows handed out were his smaller roll and go anywhere pillows, which cost about $4.90 each, below the state's $5 limit for allowable campaign giveaways. Lindell also says he expects a judge to rule on the complaint later this week. Now, as I was researching this, I did find a state website, and it says that these complaints are heard by a panel of judges, which may do a number of things. They may dismiss the matter, they may issue a reprimand, impose a civil penalty, or in serious cases, refer the complaint to a county attorney for criminal proceedings. Back to you.
Just in this morning, a long-closed prison in western Minnesota is becoming an immigration and customs enforcement detention center. ICE just signed a deal to use the Prairie Correctional Facility in Appleton, Minnesota for 5 years. Talks to reopen the prison as an ICE detention center got mixed reaction earlier this year. Some of the community wanted different alternatives to immigrant detention. Others supported the reopening of the prison for local economics. Developing in the last few hours, Todd Barnett says he's leaving his role as interim Minneapolis Community Safety Commissioner after this year. The city council denied his reappointment twice. Some council members say they've been disappointed with his leadership. In an internal email obtained by Kare 11, Barnett said he hasn't decided what's next and is still committed to serving until a replacement can be found. Today, St. Paul residents are getting one last chance to weigh in on the city's plan for homeless encampments. Crews are expected to clear out the city's largest encampment tomorrow. Our Audrey Russo's in St. Paul with a closer look.
Yeah, city councilors today are going to have to answer to the public on their plan to clear out 3 homeless encampments in St. Paul altogether. Now, this is a continuation of a public hearing that started pretty much last month, and it went on for about 2 hours. Today's begins at noon, and based on the submitted written statements and what people said at that last meeting, it's pretty clear that the people of St. Paul are not enthused about this plan. Take a look at this video. This is Pig's Eye Park. This is the largest of the homeless encampments that the city wants to start clearing. About 100 or so people live there. Now, Mayor Kali says that the goal is to address the short-term needs of the folks who live here while the city figures out more permanent solutions. Those against dispersing the unhoused people, though, fear that doing so could jeopardize some of the relationships that outreach organizations have steadily built over time.
You know, where they're at right now, people can go there and help them get that trust, and then they can get the help that they need because so many systems have failed them. And so the trust is huge.
Now, we also spoke to one of the larger homeless shelters in the city. They say that they are preparing to take in more people tomorrow, but they say that at any given time, they usually only have about 20 to 25 open beds. So they're working on an overflow plan with cots. Back to you.
Right now, a mom is begging for some answers after her son was shot and killed last week in downtown St. Paul. Police say 22-year-old Sion Jordan died on Thursday, and another man survived after being shot in the leg. They also say no arrests have been made and nothing about what led up to the violence. Jordan's mom says her son tried to protect his girlfriend's sister from being assaulted at an apartment complex after telling people there that they should call police.
I know my son, he wouldn't go and do something stupid. So whatever situation he went into, he was thinking he was going to be okay.
Police say this is the city's 12th homicide of the year. Sion's family is planning his funeral at a church in Plymouth for next week. Less than 2 weeks after being sentenced to 2 life sentences, convicted assassin Vance Belter made his first state court appearance. Lou Ragoose was there.
Convicted murderer Vance Belter made his first state court appearance on murder charges after being sentenced to life in federal prison. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office says one key reason for following through with the prosecution in state court is because a state conviction would not be subject to a potential presidential pardon. Belter murdered Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. He shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette and tried to shoot their daughter Hope. The Hoffman civil attorney, in a statement after the hearing, wrote, "Today is the next step to ensure accountability. The state has an obligation, just like the federal government, to hold him accountable." Belter will stay in jail on $5 million bail, and even if he was able to post that, federal authorities would not allow him to go free. He is scheduled to be back in Hennepin County Court on September 2nd. I'm Lou Ragoose. Follow for more news.
Lou, thank you. An update this morning out of Spokane, Washington. This morning, a man will head to court for allegedly starting one of the wildfires there. The sheriff's office says deputies arrested the man for first-degree arson. Investigators believe he sparked the Old Trails fire, which has burned now more than 3,500 acres and hundreds of homes and businesses. There are 3 fires burning, forcing nearly 65,000 people out of their homes. No injuries or deaths have been confirmed, but the sheriff's office says 14 people are still unaccounted for. Today, Superior National Forest officials tell us they'll be giving an update on the wildfires burning in northern Minnesota. While you were sleeping, more entry points opened in the Boundary Waters. Most of the eastern BWCA is open now, while parts of central are open for day use only. The western side of the area by the Little Knife Fire will stay closed for now. New images into our newsroom this morning of the devastating tornado damage in the Fox Cities over in Wisconsin. Take a look at your screen. These are before and after satellite photos out of Menasha, Wisconsin. They're pretty incredible. Just over a week ago, an EF3 tornado tore through the city with winds upwards of 140 miles an hour. And you can see from these images just how badly it destroyed neighborhoods, schools, and businesses there. Thankfully, no deaths or serious injuries have been reported. Well, this morning, the path is clear for President Trump's next pick for Attorney General. But there's a new obstacle popping up overseas. Iran says there are no talks to end the war there, despite what the president is saying. NBC's Chris Pallone is in Washington with more.
The Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to vote to advance Todd Blanche's nomination as Attorney General later today.
This morning, 2 holdout Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee have cleared the way for Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche's nomination to advance.
I'm glad we were able to solve the problem.
Republicans John Cornyn and Tom Tillis, both leaving the Senate in January, wanted written assurance from President Trump's former personal attorney the Trump administration will not move forward with a nearly $2 billion fund to pay people who say they were unfairly prosecuted by the Biden Justice Department and limiting Trump's immunity from IRS audits. That May Justice Department settlement agreement set off alarm bells from Democrats.
Trump sued himself, settled with himself, and then gave himself tax immunity for life and $2 billion.
All I know is that Todd Blanche is great. He's going to do a great job.
Blanche's nomination moving forward as President Trump say talks with Iran to end the war are also progressing, though Iran insists it is not negotiating with the U.S.
When they're talking, they don't like saying that they're talking. So I say, wait, we're in talks. Big deal.
Trump says a closed critical shipping lane could reopen today. Oil prices dropped on the news.
The first phase is the opening of the straits. The second phase will be the denuclearization.
The president said he called off massive strikes against Iran's civilian infrastructure over the weekend at the urging of U.S. allies in the region.
I want to give him every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens.
Trump says there's no deadline for a deal yet.
Those 2 Republicans who are holding up Todd Blanche's nomination admit President Trump could still use legal loopholes to revive his anti-weaponization fund later. Tom Tillis saying Congress needs to change the law allowing it. The full Senate could vote on Blanche later this week. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
And be sure to stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.